The stand on Maple Lane. I was leaning against the railing of my front porch, a chipped ceramic mug of black coffee in hand, watching the early morning mist curl around the oak tree in my yard. The house, a sturdy two-story built by my father in 1962, stood proud on Maple Lane, its cedar siding weathered but unyielding. The street was silent, save for the faint chirp of sparrows and the creak of my rocking chair. This was my sanctuary, the last piece of my family's legacy in a neighborhood that had changed around it. But that's quiet. It was about to shatter. My name's Henry Callahan, and this house has been in my family for 3 generations. Back when my dad built it, Crestwood was just open fields and dirt roads. Now, it's a sea of manicured lawns and identical beige split levels, all governed by the Crestwood Homeowners Association. They sprang up in the early 2000s, swallowing every lot but mine. I never signed their contract. My deed predates their whole operation, and I made it clear I wanted no part of their rules about mailbox colors or approved shrub heights. My house was a holdout, a stubborn oak in a forest of saplings. And that's exactly why they came for me. It started with a letter slipped under my screen door on a crisp October morning. The Crestwood HOA's logo, a pretentious laurel wreath, sat atop a demand that my non-compliant structure be removed to make way for a community greenway. They offered me a modular home 50 miles out in the middle of nowhere, complete with a glossy pamphlet showing a sagging porch like it was a selling point. I read it twice, laughed, and tossed it into the fireplace. Then I scanned my property deed, stamped by the county in 1960, and emailed it to the HOA with a single word: no. The next day, Margaret Hensley showed up, 50-something, with a severe blonde bob and a blazer that screamed, "I mean business." She marched onto my lawn with 2 lackeys, a guy with a clipboard and a woman clutching a tablet like it was her lifeline. "Mr. Callahan," Margaret said, her voice dripping with fake warmth, "we're here to discuss your integration into Crestwood's aesthetic harmony." I cut her off. "You're trespassing. My house isn't your canvas." She rattled off terms like zoning compliance and public benefit, but I pointed to the street. "Gates that way." She left, but not before flashing a smile that promised trouble. "This will be resolved, Mr. Callahan," she said, "one way or another." 2 days later, things got weird. A black SUV parked across the street, its driver snapping photos of my house. I waved, he sped off. Then came the notices laminated, zip-tied to my fence claiming I'd violated community standards I'd never agreed to. My neighbor, Tom, a retired mechanic, stopped by with a worried look and a beer. "They held a secret HOA meeting," he said. "Margaret's saying you're holding up progress. People are scared to cross her." That night, my porch light died. Not burned out, disabled. I found a small device taped inside my breaker box, blinking like a cheap spy gadget. I ripped it out and started planning. I dug out my old security gear from the garage, motion sensors, pinhole cameras, the works. By the next evening, I had a full setup, 1 camera in the oak tree, another hidden in a fake birdhouse, and a third under the eaves. Everything is fed to a hard drive in the basement. I wasn't just protecting my house. I was building a case. When Margaret returned with 2 men claiming to inspect my porch for safety violations, I held up my deed. "You've got no jurisdiction here," I said. "Leave, or I'll call the cops." They backed off, but Margaret's parting words chilled me. "Safety's important, Mr. Callahan. You'll see." The hammer fell on a Wednesday morning. I was fixing a loose shutter when 2 police cruisers rolled into my driveway, their tires crunching the gravel. 2 officers stepped out, hands on their holsters. The older one, grizzled and smug, barked, "Henry Callahan?" I nodded, my hammer still in hand. "You're under arrest for threatening HOA officials and violating municipal codes." I blinked. Threatening? Violating what? They didn't answer, just moved to cuff me. And there, on the sidewalk, was Margaret, filming it all with a smirk that could curdle milk. "Looks like the HOA has some authority after all," she called as they led me to the cruiser. I didn't fight. Not then. I let them take me, my mind racing. At the station, they didn't book me properly, just threw me in a holding cell with vague talk of a citizen dispute. My lawyer, Rachel Stein, was waiting when they released me that night on supervised release, complete with an ankle monitor. "This is a setup," she said, handing me a water bottle. "No charges stick, but they're burying you in paperwork to wear you down." I nodded, already thinking of the hard drive in my basement. Margaret had no idea what I'd caught on tape. Those cameras? They were my ace. The birdhouse cam recorded Margaret muttering about breaking me. The oak tree unit caught her handing an envelope to a cop in a cruiser 3 nights before my arrest. Another clip showed her bragging about a fake HOA vote to justify their actions. Rachel and I spent hours sorting the footage, timestamping every damning moment. She sent copies to a prosecutor in Raleigh and her firm's investigator. My wife, Ellen, had a third copy notarized at City Hall. House arrest didn't cage might armed me. Rachel moved fast. By Friday, she'd set up a press conference outside the courthouse. I watched from my couch, ankle monitor humming, as she laid it all bare. My client, Henry Callahan, was illegally arrested at the behest of an HOA with no authority over his property, she said, uploading the footage to a public server. Twitter exploded. Reddit caught fire. By evening, Stand With Henry was trending. The clips were brutal. Margaret's sneers, the envelope exchange, her laughing about dragging him out. The local news ran it on loop. The DA called Rachel that night, demanding every file. On Monday, the DA dropped all charges against me. No fines, no conditions. I tore off the ankle monitor like it was a bad memory. But the real bombshell came next. The DA opened an investigation into Crestwood HOA and the 2 officers. Charges piled up: falsifying records, abuse of authority, conspiracy, even racketeering. Margaret tried to spin it, holding a press conference outside the HOA office, claiming the videos were fabricated by online agitators. Nobody bought it. Former HOA members held signs behind her. "We never voted." And Margaret lied. 3 board members went public, admitting they'd been coerced into fake votes and selective enforcement to target me. The trial was a spectacle. The courtroom smelled of polish and tension, packed with reporters and neighbors who'd once feared Margaret's wrath. Rachel called witnesses like artillery strikes. A former board member, Lisa Carter, broke down, admitting Margaret faked meeting minutes to show unanimous support. A contractor testified that Margaret asked him to lie about my house's condition. Then came the videos, undeniable, authenticated, devastating. Margaret's lawyer tried to call them edited, but the judge shut him down. When I took the stand, I didn't embellish. I told the jury about my dad's hands laying every brick, my mom planting the oak tree, my kids learning to ride bikes in the driveway. I told them I'd done nothing but defend what was mine. Margaret wouldn't meet my eyes. The jury deliberated for 45 minutes. Guilty on all counts: fraud, harassment, conspiracy, and attempted property seizure. Margaret got 14 years, no parole for 10. The officers, tried later, each got 8 years and a permanent ban from public service. The judge dissolved Crestwood HOA, calling it a corrupt enterprise masquerading as community governance. I walked out of the courthouse, the air crisp and free, and drove home to Ellen's lasagna and a cold beer. The aftermath was better than I'd hoped. The state awarded me $2.1 million in damages. The HOA's office was auctioned off. I bought it, raised it, and put up a sign: "Here fell tyranny. Long live freedom." Neighbors started living again, painting houses red, planting wildflowers, hanging unapproved Christmas lights. Tom threw a block party on the 4th of July, and half the county showed up. Kids ran wild, sparklers in hand. Lisa brought her peach cobbler. Rachel and her husband danced to Springsteen. A kid in a baseball cap asked if I was the guy who crushed the HOA. I laughed. "Yeah, kid, that's me." As fireworks lit the sky, I sat on my porch, Ellen beside me, the oak tree swaying. This wasn't just a victory, it was peace. My house stood, my family's legacy intact, and Crestwood was free. I'd fought a giant and won, not with fists but with truth. And that, I realized, was worth every second. What do you think about Henry's fight? Have you ever faced injustice or abuse of power in your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about standing up to bullies and what it means to protect what's yours. Your voice matters.